Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Sharks Late Night. We're about to start. All right. So tonight, Ria and I will be playing the shark trivia. We hope that you are ready for a very fun night. If you are joining us for the game right now, please go ahead and scan here to scan me, or go to www.menti.com and enter the 7-digit code 3799222. And again, welcome to the Rutgers Geology Museum Late Night on Sharks. We are going to be with you in a couple of seconds. Are you ready, Ria?
Yes, I am. I am ready.
All right. So here we go. How long, question number 1 will be, how long ago did sharks evolve? And you have 4 options. A, 450 million years ago. B, 45 million years ago. C, approximately 4.5 million years ago. And D, 45,000 years ago. Remember to put your answer on menti.com. If you're having trouble logging into the Menti, you can put your answer in the chat. And we do recommend that you take a tally at home, right? Mark how many questions you have right. So you, at the end, you know what is your range in the scale that we have prepared for you tonight. Are we getting answers, Ria?
Yeah, we have. It seems like we're getting some more. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds. I think we have a lot of people logging on right now. We have a lot of more answers coming in.
All right.
Okay, I think that's everyone. So everyone chose A, 450 million years ago.
And let's see what the answer is. You are correct. Yes. Sharks evolved approximately 450 million years ago. And you have here a picture of what it's believed the first evidence of a shark, the first shark. And so the first evidence of sharks come from the Devonian period. And that is over 400 millions of years ago. Then let's go to question number 2. Where was the oldest intact shark fossil found? A, Brisbane, Australia, Galapagos Island, San Diego, California, or New Brunswick, Canada?
We have answers all over the board right now.
All right. Should we wait a couple more minutes? More seconds?
Yes. Yeah, just a few more.
Okay. Let's see where. Australia, Galapagos, California, or Canada?
Okay, so it seems like most people have answered for B, the Galapagos Island.
In the Galapagos. All right, so let's see. And that was wrong. The oldest intact fossil was found in New Brunswick, Canada. And that is for Dolliodus problematicus, is the world's oldest intact shark fossil. And you can see a picture here, and it is about 400 million years old. And this is another representation of the one that you
Letter D.
Yeah, letter D. Yes, New Brunswick, Canada. Let's go to the next question. How many mass extinction events have sharks survived? A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, and D, 4. For those of you who just log in, the website to answer the questions is at the bottom of the slide. Is www.menti.com with the code 3799222.
So we're getting a lot.
Going?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of answers for one of them, which I'll reveal. I think we're waiting on 2 more people.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone, well, most people chose C for 3.
C for 3. All right. So let's go up. So the actual answer is D, 4. Since sharks evolved over 400 million years ago, they actually survived the Devonian and Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous mass extinction events. And you can see those in here in the graph. Whoops. You can look more information about it later, but it's actually 4 because they are so old. Let's go next on question number 4. How much do scientists think a full-size megalodon could weigh? A, 10 tons, B, 60 tons, C, 20 tons, or D, 40 tons?
Waiting on a few more. All right. Okay, so majority of people have answered for B, 60 tons.
All right. And that is correct. Your expert's guide. A mature female megalodon measuring 60 feet in length will weigh over 120,000 pounds. And you can see here the maximum size that they could reach, or a regular, more conservative size, and how this size compares to a whale shark or to the great white shark, right, that you're probably most familiar with. And this right here will be you. Can you imagine seeing a real megalodon in full life? All right, so number 5, question number 5. Sharks are most closely related to which group of fish? A, eels, B, sturgeons, C, rays, or D, lungfish?
All right, so okay, so, we got another response. So most of the people are saying C, rays.
C, rays. And that is correct. Sharks are most closely related to rays, the group that contains skates, stingrays, and manta rays. You can see a nice cool picture here. So we're gonna go, and this is the pause to tell you if you just join us right now, you can scan the QR code here, or you can go to www.menti.com and enter the 7-digit code 3799222, and that will get you to answer the questions so Ria can track them down. But we do recommend that you also track them at home so you get your tally and you know how many questions you got right at the end, okay? We are ready to continue. We're gonna go on question number 6. About how many species of sharks are alive today? A, 250, B, 500, C, 700, or D, 900?
Hi, and I'm okay. There we go. It's not a tie anymore. All right, so most people have answered for B, 500.
Okay. And correct. That is the correct answer. There are over 500 species of shark living all over the world's ocean today. This is my challenge to you. If you know one species, put it in the chat. I want to know which one's your favorite shark. And you can see here a variety of them. So see which ones you recognize.
I like goblin sharks. I think they're really cool.
Yes. I like hammerheads. All right. What are baby sharks called? A, pups, B, sharklings, C, cubs, and D, fry.
It looks like most of the people know the right answer right now.
Yes.
Just a couple of... So pretty much almost everybody put A for pups.
Okay. And you were all correct. A for pups. Although I have to say I was wishing that the answer was B for sharklings. That was the cutest word. So sharks are born from eggs, or they can be born alive like humans, depending on their species. So there's a variety on the way how they're born, but they're all called pups when they're babies. Although you probably call them baby sharks, right?
But the song.
Yes. All right. Question number 8. What are shark skeletons made of? A, bone, B, keratin, C, collagen, or D, cartilage?
Quick answers right now, so just a few more people. Okay, and so almost everyone chose D for cartilage.
All right. And that is correct. Unlike other fish, shark skeletons are made of cartilage, which means they don't preserve in the fossil record. Usually the only remnants of the sharks that scientists find are their teeth. And question number 9, how do sharks find their prey? A, by echolocation, B, by electroreception, C, illumination, or D, eyesight? I got this one wrong when I answer it.
I think everyone has the right answer. Still waiting for a few more. Okay, so it seems like everyone's putting down B for electroreception.
And that is correct. You are experts. I didn't get it right. So sharks have electroreceptors called papillae of Lorenzini, and that lets them detect the electrical fields of their prey. And you can see here an image. They can sense that, and then they attack and eat the smaller fish. Question number... What?
Go ahead.
Question number 10. Which is the largest of all living sharks? A, the great white shark, B, the bull shark, C, tiger shark, or D, whale shark?
So almost everyone put down D for whale shark.
All right. And that is correct. Whale sharks have been reported to grow to a maximum of 59 feet in length. And you can see here a picture of a comparison to a human body. Look at that. Can you imagine swimming next to that shark? All right, this is another pause to address the people who have come in a little bit later. If you just joined us, please go and scan the QR code, and to play, go to www.menti.com. Enter the code 379922 and 2. And also keep your tally so you can let us know how you did at the end. We're halfway there, so we are going to continue on into the next question. Question number 11. What is the smallest of all living sharks? A, basking shark. B, dwarf lantern shark. C, Caribbean reef shark. Or D, pygmy shark.
At a tie, but it looks like there's more answers for the other. So let's wait and see. Oh, it's a tie again. Nope. Oh, okay. So it looks like most, well, by only 2 votes, people chose D for pygmy shark.
Pygmy shark. Okay, let's see. No. Actually, the answer is the dwarf lantern shark. You can see in the picture, it's about the size of your hand. The dwarf lantern shark can only grow about 8 inches in length. Which shark can swim the fastest? A, short-fin mako shark, hammerhead shark, C, gray white shark, or D, oceanic white-tip shark.
Two more people waiting for. Okay, and it looks like most of you chose A for short fin mako shark.
A, short-fin mako shark. And that is the correct answer. Short-fin mako sharks can swim about 45 miles per hour, making them one of the fastest fish in the ocean. We're going to move on to question number 13. Which shark can swim in both freshwater and saltwater? A, great white sharks. B, tiger sharks. C, bull sharks. Or D, hammerhead sharks.
Looks like this group really knows their sharks because most of you chose C for bull shark.
And that is correct. Bull sharks can swim between fresh and salt water and can often be found in tropical rivers around the world. Question number 14. Which type of shark uses its tail to slap on stunned prey? A, the mako shark. B, the lemon shark. C, megamouth shark. Or D, treasure shark.
Sharks here. So we're just waiting on a few more, but everyone's choosing the same answer. Okay, and it looks like most of you chose D for thresher shark.
That is correct. This process, called tail smacking, allows the treasure shark to stun and kill more than one fish at a time. It's almost like a harpoon. Question number 15. How many teeth can the great white shark have at one time? A, 150, B, 300, C, 500, or D, 850?
Okay, so it looks like I have a lot of responses for B, 300.
And that is correct. A great white shark can have up to 300 teeth in its mouth at a time. Actually, in very shortly, we're going to be able to make our own jaw. So stay tuned. Don't leave. And again, scan your QR code. Meti.com is the website, and the code is 3799 22 and 2. We're almost at the end of our trivia for the late night, but we are going to have a couple more questions before going to the craft. Question number 16. What is the bite force of a great white shark? A, 1,000 pounds per square inch. B, 2,500 pounds per square inch. C, 4,000 pounds per square inch. Or D, 6,000 pounds per square inch.
It's starting to become a tie, so I'm going to wait for a few more answers. Like most of you chose B for 2,500 pounds per square inch.
All right, let's see. Actually, it was C. Using computer models, scientists have been able to estimate that great white sharks can bite with 4,000 pounds of force per square inch. And again, you can see the representation here of how humans look next to that. Imagine that you're inside that mouth. All right, question number 17. What do basking sharks eat? A, plankton, B, seals, C, dolphins, or D, fish?
About sharks again. It looks like most of you have chosen A for plankton.
That is correct. The basking shark is a filter feeder, and to get enough plankton to survive, they filter about 2,000 tons of water per hour. Can you imagine that? Question number 18. Which shark has a very long snout covered in teeth? A, goblin shark, B, megamouth shark, C, saw shark, or D, cookie cutter shark?
Waiting on a few more responses.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a big number of you chose C for saw shark.
All right. Let's see. And that's correct. 8 species of saw shark use their snout to slash at and disable their prey. And you can see here all the shark's teeth around it. All right, so question 19. What is the biggest predator of sharks? A, whales, B, humans, C, giant squid, or D, other sharks?
Still getting in responses. Looks like most of everyone is choosing the same answer.
Okay.
Waiting on a few more. Okay, so it looks like most people have answered for B, humans.
All right. That is correct. Unfortunately, humans kill about 100 million sharks every year. Many of these sharks are killed for their fins to make shark fin soup. And you can see here a picture of how they are fished out of the water. Then let's go to what I believe is our last question of the night. Which shark is the oldest known living vertebrate? A, Greenland shark, B, great white shark, C, goblin shark, and D, treasure shark.
We still have a lot of responses coming in, but it seems like a lot of people are choosing the same one. Just a few more. Okay, so it looks like most of you have chosen A, Greenland shark.
Let's see. That is correct. Greenland sharks have been estimated to live between 200 and 400 years. They can be pretty old. Again, they're big. Look at the diver person here. And with this, we are at the end of our trivia. We hope you have fun answering these questions. And based on your tallies, see if you got 10 or less, you are an oceanographer. If you got correct between 11 and 15 of the questions, you are a marine biologist. But if you got anywhere between 16 and 20 questions right, you are a sharkologist. That means you're an expert and you can be in Shark Week. All right, so thank you for playing with us. Now we're gonna continue with Ria. I'm gonna make her a presenter and we are going to do our paper plate shark and you're gonna need some supplies. So please go around now and get your paper plates, your scissors, markers, glue, paper, anything you can. And you can put your drawings or your crafts with us at Padlet.com. So please participate in that. And Ria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patty. So as Patty just said, we are going to make two crafts today. So we're making a jaw, some jaw, and then we're making a shark. And so if you take some time to grab paper plates, you can use paint, you can use markers or crayons. If you have googly eyes, you can use googly eyes. If you don't, you can draw them yourselves. You'll need scissors if you have tape or glue. So go ahead and grab your supplies. And so now I will get my camera up here. Okay, so can everyone see this right now? Patty, can you see this? And can you still
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can see it.
Okay, cool. So here's one that I'm going to start with the full shark. So we'll do the jaw next, but this is the whole shark. And so here's one that I made earlier with my niece. So you can see we got the nice big teeth. We have the tail. We have the fin. We had two googly eyes here. And so this is the shark that we made. And there's another fin down here. So this is one that we're going to make today right now. So what I have done ahead of time is all I did was I have these small paper plates It's okay if you have a big one, you can make a really big shark. And so what I did is I just painted this earlier so that I could show you what I'm going to do now. And I just cut a little triangle just right here in the side so that that's where the mouth is and that's where the teeth are going to be. So you can go ahead and you can color it, you can paint or anything you want, any color you'd like, and just make a triangle here. Go maybe about to like halfway in the middle of the plate. Okay, and so next, what I did is I took another paper plate and I painted that one too. I painted the circle in the middle, and then maybe this is a little better to see. And then I just cut a tail shape. So you can make your tail any shape you want. I made mine look kind of like a fortune cookie, right? So I cut a little V shape here, and this is going to be my tail. And then you can take a third paper plate, or you could use the scraps from the paper plates that you're using and cut out a big triangle. So here I cut out a big triangle from the edge of my paper plate. This is actually where the mouth was, right? So I just took that piece. That's going to be my fin, the big one at the top. And then I also have a smaller triangle that I painted in to be the bottom fin. And then I'd have some leftover triangles that I just left white because these will be my teeth. Okay, so I'm going to put my shark together now, my paper plate shark. And so what I'm going to do is I don't have glue, so I'm going to use tape. So I'm just going to take some tape. And I think I'm going to do the tail first. So I think I'll put it somewhere around here. And I'm just going to flip it over. I'm just going to tape that right there. So my shark has a tail now. And now I think I will put the fin there. So I will put my fin here right at the top. I'm just going to flip it over and I'm going to tape it. And as you finish making your sharks, please post them to the Padlet so then I can share them on the screen and everyone can see your wonderful, fantastic creations, your fantastic sharks. So here's my fin and I have my tail. And now I think I would like to put the bottom fin. Maybe I'll use a bigger one. I have another triangle that I painted. So let me just get some tape for that. And I'm just going to put it right there. I'm going to flip it over, tape that right there. All right. So we have our shark right at the body. I have the tail. I have the fin, and I have another fin here. And now I think I want to do the teeth. So let me get some of these triangles that I cut out earlier. These are pretty long and toothy, so I'm going to put a bunch of them. I'm just going to tape them to the top here. I'm going to put a bunch of triangles here because I want mine to have an extra toothy smile. And they can be uneven, right? That's totally up to you. If you want to color them in, you can make them colored too. That's fine. I'm just choosing to keep mine white. And I'm putting lots of teeth here. Okay, so I got the top part. So we can take a look at the top part. Oh, that looks pretty good. I like this. And I left the bottom over here, this little piece, I left it white because you might have noticed some sharks have like the underside is lighter than the other side. So that's what I wanted to do. Now I'm going to do the bottom part. I'm going to add some more teeth. And so once again, when you are finished making your shark, you can give it a name and you can take a picture of it and post it to the Padlet so that we can see what you're making. And I'm going to put some more teeth here. Okay, I think I have enough teeth. So let's see how it looks with our teeth. Oh, maybe I need, well, I guess I'm okay with the teeth I have here. All right. So now I think my shark, all it needs is two eyes. And I could only find two different sized eyes. So I'm going to have a silly shark. So I'm going to have a bigger eye, googly eyeball and a smaller one. So let me just get that right over here. Okay, so we have one eye. And now, and you can give it eyebrows, you can give it funny eyebrows, you can give it funny eyes if you want to draw it in. You can make a stripy shark, you can make a glitter shark. Okay, here's my smaller eye. And there's my silly shark. All right. So let's see, is there anything on the Padlet, Patty? Did anyone post their sharks here?
There's one drawing, but not quite. Most people aren't finished yet, I think.
All right, so we'll give you some more time to finish yours and
Wait,
let's
Mommy,
take a look at the drawing. Julie, would you like to share the Padlet and show people the drawing of the shark?
Sure, give me 1 second.
So now I have my two sharks and they're friends. One has giant teeth and the other has like smaller, pointier teeth. The fin on this one kind of looks like a party hat. The party shark. I think that's what I'm going to name this one, the party shark. Now I'm going to get my plates ready for our next activity. Okay, so we can say bye to party shark for now. And so now, if you want, you can grab some pencils or you can grab some pens, something to write with if you'd like. And maybe I should do the same thing. So I'm going to get some pencils. Okay, so we have a paper plate. Okay, and so we're making the jaws now. So what you're going to do is you can just fold it over in half. And it looks like Julie is sharing the Padlet. So you can fold your plates and then look up at the screen because we have some sharks to show you.
Sure. Hang on, it's not letting me share.
So while Julie figures out how to get show you all the Padlet, we can continue with our jaw craft. So now I'm gonna draw some triangles, or I'm going to try and do this two ways because I tried this earlier and it didn't quite look like the one in the picture, but I'm going to try my best. So for one, I think I will draw some triangles here, right at the edge. And you don't have to draw triangles if you don't want to, but if you would like to, you can. Okay, so let's see how this turns out. So I just drew some triangles at the bottom, and now I'm just going to cut it. Okay, so get a pair of scissors. Maybe have an adult do this part for you if you're younger. and you can just cut these triangles out. And the secret is, this is where I got my teeth from. I cut these triangles, and I use that for the teeth for my other sharks. So you can definitely do that. Use up the scraps from this one. Okay, and I'm on the last triangle here. I'm just gonna cut across it, I guess. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have, but that's okay. It happens. So now I have, well, I guess this is a little better for me because now I have jaws that can actually open and close. That's kind of funny. So here are my shark teeth and here are my jaws. And this one actually opens up. So I'm gonna make another one now. So I have a paper plate again. And I'm gonna fold it in half. And this one I'm gonna try something different. So I'm now going to follow the circle here, like a half circle. And then I'm gonna make my triangles and see how that looks. I'm gonna make my triangles maybe like right around here. I'm gonna make a bunch of triangles. Okay, so it looks kind of like a sun right now. It looks like a sunset. So I'm going to just cut that half circle first. And when you're finished, just put your creations up on the Padlet so we can see what you made. Now I'm going to cut my triangles out. We'll see how this turns out. You can get as creative as you'd like. You can color it in if you want. I made a lot of teeth here, so still cutting this out.
Rhea, when you're finished, could you try sharing the Padlet? For some reason, my computer is not letting me.
Oh, sure. Oh, I think I have the presenter. No, I think I
Yeah,
have
I just
the
made you
option.
presenter.
Okay, thank you. I will try that so we can see what you guys are working on. So we're almost there. I have 2 more triangles to cut out. Okay, there's my last one. Now, you all ready for this? Let's find out what it looks like. Whoa, look at that. That's pretty cool. I think this one looks a little more like shark jaws, right? Okay, so I have, that's pretty cool. Okay, so take pictures of your shark jaws and your sharks and post them on the Padlet. So let's see if you made any. Oh, I see a lot of pictures, so let's take a look here. Okay, so here are our examples. Okay, I see Kathy and Lincoln's shark jaws. That looks awesome. Looks really good. There's Beta the shark. That was the one that I made earlier. Oh, and fantastic jaws. Looks really good. Oh, and I see, oh, look at these. these jaws over here. That looks really good. Oh, the drawing is so good. That is such a good drawing of a shark. Oh, and I love this one too. This white and blue one looks really nice. I love the teeth there. Oh, here's another. Oh, Maria's drawing. Megalodon drawing is really nice. I can't quite see what it says. Oh, there's a human. Okay, so she's comparing the size of a megalodon to a human. So that's a really cool drawing. So these are really awesome. So yeah, keep posting, keep making your sharks and post them. Let me see if I can refresh, see if there's any new pictures, but definitely add your creations when you're done. Oh, I see a lot more. Salty the Whale Shark by Artie. I like this really. I like Salty the Whale Shark. That's really cute. And Billy the Shark. Oh, look, Billy the Shark. Looks like a really nice one there. I like that. And yeah, so I see Billy the Shark also just cut the triangles, the teeth into the paper plate. So that's a really good way to do it too. If you don't have any glue or tape, you can definitely just cut the teeth into the plate. That's such a good idea. Let's see if I refresh again. Let's see if you guys have more. So yeah, please keep posting them. And if you post them on social media, you can tag us.
I have here Valeria's, Ria.
Oh yeah, let's see. Please stop sharing. Oh, look at that.
I have a doll.
Does it have a name?
What's the name?
Becky.
Becky.
Becky, I
The
love
shark.
I love it. That's a really good one. So Becky the Shark. So that's a really nice one. Thanks for sharing that, Patty. And so yeah, once a reminder, once your shark is finished, please post the photo to our Padlet site so you can share it with us. And I'll check one more time before I hand it off to our speaker. See if there's any other ones here. Yeah, so keep working on it. And you can definitely still post them to the Padlet after the event is done, and we'll take a look at them. So I think, Patty, do you want to introduce our speaker for tonight?
Sure. Following along. Hello. Can you hear me? Yes.
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 Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this night to learn about sharks. We've done the craft, we've done the trivia, and now we have our guest speaker. We're very excited to have Donna Ehret. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? All right, great. We're here to learn more. This is the more formal and scientific part of our late night event. So we hope you enjoy this nice presentation by Donna Ehret. Thank you.
Okay. Let me get started here. Let me get my presentation loaded. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Dana Ehret. I am the Assistant Curator of Natural History at the New Jersey State Museum, and I am a paleontologist, and my area of focus is fossil sharks. I study Megalodon and fossil great white sharks. And so tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about what we know about Megalodon, how it lived, and how it unfortunately died as well. So I like to start off, I'm a paleontologist. I always talk about taxonomy, how organisms are related to one another. And Megalodon belongs to a family of sharks. We commonly call them the Megatooth sharks. They're called the Odadanted sharks. And they include other extinct species like Cretaceous, which is a shark that lived during the age of dinosaurs, and a species called Otodus obliquus, If you've ever bought a shark tooth necklace in a surf shop, you probably have an Ototus obliquus tooth on it. The fossil record for these sharks spans from about 90 million years ago up until 3.5 million years ago. So I spoiled it. Megalodon is not still alive. And the most famous of the Odadontids is Ototus Megalodon, the largest shark that ever lived. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about Megalodon. We know Megalodon mostly from their teeth. Most sharks, as we learned in the trivia, have skeletons made out of cartilage, and cartilage doesn't preserve that well in the fossil record, but their teeth certainly do. So if we look at the family tree of Megalodon, what are some of the species that are related to, or where did Megalodon come from? We can go back 75 to 80 million years to this fossil shark called Cretaceous. And you can go to Big Brook in Monmouth County, New Jersey, a county park, and you can actually find teeth from Cretaceous. You can go sifting if you follow the park rules and find your own Cretaceous teeth. But we also know that Megalodon is related to this shark Ototus obliquus, the tooth I held up before. There is another shark called Ototus actuaticus, Ototus auriculatus, this shark here, Ototus angustidens, and Chubatensis as well. So there are quite a few species that are related to Megalodon that we find through in the fossil record through geologic time. And I'll talk more about those in a little bit. So what does Megalodon mean? Megalodon means big tooth. And it was originally described in the fossils by a paleontologist named Louis Agassiz back in the 1840s. And when Agassiz described Megalodon, he put it in the same genus as the modern great white shark, Carcharodon. Today, we know, however, that Megalodon was in a different family from the modern great whites. And he put them in the same family just because they looked similar to each other. They look like one another, and they're both big triangular teeth, right? So here I have a Megalodon tooth next to a great white shark tooth. The scales are a little bit different. I'll hold up a Megalodon tooth in one hand and a great white shark tooth in the other. We know today the biggest great white shark ever caught was 21 feet long. And as we learned in trivia, Megalodon got upwards of 50 to 60 feet long. So Louis Agassiz put Megalodon in the same genus as great whites because the teeth are triangular, they have serrations, and they just looked kind of similar to one another. Today, however, we know that there are differences. White sharks have very coarse serrations on their teeth, whereas Megalodon has very fine, tiny, small serrations. The teeth of Megalodon are much larger than white sharks. They're also much thicker than white sharks. And they have this band, this V-shaped area at the base of the tooth crown where it meets the root. And this is called a chevron or a bourlet. And white sharks actually don't have this. And this is a characteristic of all of the sharks in the family, the Odadanted sharks. So we put it in its own genus. When did Megalodon live? Well, as I mentioned already, Megatooth sharks have been around since about 90 million years ago with Cretaceous, up until Megalodon, which lived during the Miocene time period. From about 13 to 15 million years ago up until its extinction 3.5 million years ago. Now, these sharks actually replace each other in geologic time, and we call those chronospecies. They replace each other chronologically through time. So we have Cretaceous down here in the Cretaceous, living alongside dinosaurs, except in the ocean. Ototus obliquus lived during the Paleocene and the Eocene time periods, about 55 million years ago to 45 million years ago. We have species like Auriculatus and Oxyuaticus living during the Eocene time periods, about 40 to 45 million years ago. And species like Chubatensis living in the early Miocene, about 20 million years ago, up until about 15 million years ago. So these sharks lived for a very long time. How big was Megalodon? Well, we saw that, we learned a little bit about that in trivia already. Megalodon estimates range because we only have their teeth to base our size estimates on. I like to be a little bit conservative. I usually say that Megalodon was probably 50 to 55 feet long, but estimates do range higher and lower. The largest great white down here in purple, again, we know of was about 20 feet long. This is a whale shark. We talked a little bit about whale sharks in trivia. They can get upwards of 40 to 50 feet long. And then the ancestor to Megalodon, the species Ototus auriculatus, probably grew to lengths of 30 to 35 feet long. So Megalodon was by far the largest shark that ever lived. So looking at how they grew, how big they got, one thing that I did was I studied the growth of Megalodon. And to do that, I looked at their vertebrae, the parts of their backbone, the round discs in their backbone. And in sharks, they record lines of incremental growth or lines of arrested growth, much like tree rings in a tree. And so in modern shark biology, biologists will cut the vertebrae of a dead shark and they can count those rings. In paleontology, a lot of times the vertebrae are so rare, we're not allowed to cut them up. So we X-ray them or CT scan them and then count these lines of arrested growth. And so I did that. I did that for Megalodon and some of the other species related to it. So this is a picture of a vertebra from Ototus Megalodon. These are different species, Ototus angustidens and auriculatus, as well as Ototus obliquus. And I x-rayed all of these vertebrae and counted these lines of arrested growth. And I came up with age estimates for these different species of sharks in the fossil record. So the Ototus vertebrae that I was able to study, there's not too many of them out there, came in at about 24 and 18 years of age. The auriculatus was about 24 years of age. The angustidens was about 22, 23, and the Megalodon was over 30. So these are the actual pictures of the vertebrae, and they're all scaled to size. So the Megalodon vertebra is larger than a can of tuna fish by far. It's a very large vertebra. And so this is just looking at growth rates of these types of sharks. The takeaway here is that most of the species, the ancestors, angustidens, auriculatus, and Ototus obliquus, they were all about the same size as a modern great white when they were born. Megalodon, these purple X's, however, this represents the Megalodon growth, was much larger. We know that a baby Megalodon shark was probably about 6 feet long when it was born. And looking at the rates of growth, how big the vertebrae, the backbone got as the shark grew in age is one way to look at growth rates. And what we saw was that a lot of the ancestors, angustidens, auriculatus, Ototus obliquus, when compared to modern great whites, these orange bars here, they grew at similar rates. Megalodon, however, was doing something very different. When we look at Megalodon growth rates, or Megalodon and its ancestors' growth rates compared to one another, what I found was that Ototus obliquus, auriculatus, angustidens, all of these early ancestors to Megalodon grew at very similar rates to modern great white sharks and to one another. But by the time we got to Megalodon living in the Miocene time period, it was growing much faster. So we had a baby shark that was much bigger when it was born than its ancestors, and it was growing much faster than its ancestors. So how did Megalodon get so big? It was doing everything it could to get so big. It was bigger at birth than its close relatives. It was over 6 feet long when it was born. It grew much faster than its closer relatives. And it appears that it grew at faster rates later in its lifetime than other species closely related to it. So the answer is that Megalodon did everything it could to get really big as quickly as it could. So why did they do that? And so here we have a picture of a scientist sitting in a reconstructed set of Megalodon jaws. These are real teeth with fiberglass jaws. And this is actually an exhibit, a traveling exhibit I helped design at the Florida Museum of Natural History with a life-size metal skeleton of a megalodon, and you can see this little boy walking into its mouth. Well, one question is, we know that a lot of fish are cold-blooded or poikilotherms. That means that their body temperature is not regulated inside. So maybe temperature is one reason that Megalodon got so big. So I looked at the growth rates for some of these ancestors of Megalodon and Megalodon itself and compare them to what we know about sea surface temperatures over the last 65 million years. And what we find is that about 55 million years ago, we have some of the hottest temperatures that we've had in the last 65 million years. This time called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. What we see happening with the sharks is that we actually have slower growth rates for these sharks in the warmest time period. By the time we get to Megalodon in the Miocene time period, if we look at the average sea surface temperatures, when we're looking at the temperatures here across the bottom, temperatures are actually declining. So sea temperatures are actually getting colder. And by the time that Megalodon was alive, we have Arctic and Antarctic ice sheets forming. So that tells us that the rates of growth for Megalodon is not tied to temperature. And it begs the question that perhaps Megalodon was actually warm-blooded, or at least acted like a warm-blooded animal. And today we know that white sharks and makos also act like warm-blooded animals in their ecosystems. Well, what did Megalodon eat? You know, and I always say the answer is anything it wanted to. Megalodon was an apex predator. It lived at the top of its food chain. The only thing the same size at this time as Megalodon was a giant sperm whale called Leviathan melvillei, which has been found down in Peru and in the Pacific Ocean. But Megalodon, we know, was eating marine mammals. We find many fossil whales with bite marks that are associated with Megalodon teeth. And even 1 or 2 whale skeletons have been found with Megalodon teeth associated with them. Some Meg teeth have actually been found with bite marks or scrape patterns against them. And we wonder if Megalodons might have been eating one another. I know a recent paper came out that that states that baby Megalodons might have been eating their siblings before they were born. You know, we don't know if these tooth marks were made when the animal was alive or after they died. We know that sharks constantly shed their teeth, so perhaps this tooth was a tooth that got wedged loose and the shark bit its own tooth as it was feeding. We have no way of knowing that. But some calculations that we've done based on what we know about great white sharks today, we know that an adult female megalodon, the big 50-foot long megalodon, would have had to average about 2,500 pounds of food a day. So we know that sharks don't have to eat every day. They can gorge themselves on food, then take a break. But on average, a female megalodon would have to eat over 2,000 pounds of food a day. And this is a pyramid made of tuna cans to show you how much that would actually have to be. We know that the marine mammals that Megalodon was living alongside were evolving and diversifying alongside these sharks. We find the earliest ancestors to whales, things like Basilosaurus, invading oceans about 50 to 55 million years ago, based on the fossil record. And interestingly enough, we see that the ancestors to Megalodon around the same time start to evolve serrations on their teeth. So this is an Ototus obliquus tooth from the Paleocene about 60 million years ago, and it doesn't have any serrations. They were smooth-edged teeth. This is the what we call a transitional form, Ototus actuaticus, and we actually see very crude, very ill-formed serrations on those teeth. And this species lived about 55 to 56 million years ago. So there might be some evolution of these serrations in conjunction with marine mammals invading these ecosystems. We know that some of the earliest modern groups of marine mammals, things like the baleen whales, the mysticetes, and the toothed whales and dolphins, the phystoceroids and the ziphioids and the delphinids, they all evolved in the fossil record about 30 to 35 million years ago. And these are probably the prime source of food for Megalodon and its ancestors. So we find Mystacodon, the earliest baleen whale, about 35.5 million years ago. Some of the earliest dolphin fossils go back about 30 million years ago as well. And so what I've done here is I've plotted the growth rates of the Megatooth sharks compared to the diversity of marine mammals. So our growth rates are in black, showing that Megalodon has a very high growth rate. And these blue lines represent the diversity of modern marine mammals. They show up in the fossil record about 30, 35 million years ago. And what we find is the peak diversity of whales and dolphins in the world's oceans occurs during the Miocene time period, the same time that Megalodon was alive. So I think what we have happening here is that Megalodon probably could get much bigger. It could grow faster and get larger because there was a lot of food for it to eat. The marine mammals that we're finding are dolphins and some medium-sized whales ranging from 10 to 20 feet long, which are prime food resources for Megalodon. Another aspect of Megalodon's biology that we know something about is that they most likely used nursery areas like modern sharks. And so back in 2010, some co-authors and I published a paper hypothesizing or looking at a potential nursery area for baby Megalodon or Megalodon pups, as we learned in our trivia earlier, off the coast of Panama. And this was based on a set of fossils that was collected during the widening of the Panama Canal that happened in the last 10 or 15 years. And these teeth all range from about 10 million years ago, the late Miocene time period. And we found dozens and dozens of Megalodon teeth, and most of them were very small. And so what we did was we compared all of the teeth that we found from these sites in Panama to sites in Maryland. The Calvert Cliffs are a great site for finding Megalodon teeth. And also Florida, the Bone Valley region near Orlando, Florida. There are thousands of Megalodon teeth. And we compared those and plotted their size along what we were finding from Panama. And what we found were that most of the Megalodon teeth were small animals. They were juveniles. And you might say, well, how do you know that they just weren't little teeth from the back of the mouth? Well, Megalodon teeth change shape with their age. So juvenile Megalodon teeth have a different shape. Some of them have these little side cusplets, which they lose as adults. And they also have more of a heart-shaped shape to them rather than a triangular shape. And so by finding all of these teeth, during the Miocene, this would have been a shallow Caribbean Ocean. So it would have been warm, shallow seas are perfect places for shark nursery areas. And that's what we see today. Areas like the Bahamas are great areas for shark nurseries. So why and when did Megalodon go extinct? I hate to admit it, but Megalodon is not alive anymore. I was lucky enough a couple years ago to go on the Discovery Channel Shark Week and talk about Megalodon and why Megalodon is not alive. It has gone extinct. I'll harken back to Jurassic Park and Ian Malcolm. This isn't some species that was obliterated by deforestation or building of a dam. I've changed it from dinosaurs to Megalodon had its shot and nature selected it for its extinction. So I know that there's a lot of programs and movies out there that kind of lead people to believe that Megalodon might be hiding out there in the Marianas Trench. But I promise you that Megalodon has gone extinct. And just a few years ago, some colleagues and I published a paper in 2019 on the extinction of Megalodon. And to do that, we examined the occurrence of Megalodon teeth in the fossil record, especially along the coast of California. And we had very well-constrained specimens. We know exactly which layer in the geological record these teeth came from. And based on the work that we did, where our lead author, Mr. Robert Bosenecker from the College of Charleston, collected all the teeth himself, we found that Megalodon teeth stopped being present about 3.5 million years ago during the Pliocene period. So Megalodon has been extinct for at least 3 million years, and unfortunately there are no more Megalodons out there. These sharks were shallow water sharks. They lived on the continental shelf, feeding on whales and dolphins. And so if a Megalodon was still alive today, we would certainly have encountered them with all the fishing boats and the sailing boats that we have out on the ocean. We would certainly see a 50-foot shark today. So why did Megalodon go extinct? And that's a much harder question to answer. I like to tell people there's no smoking gun. There's no one answer. Probably climate change played a part 20 million years ago when Megalodon and its ancestors were alive. The Earth really had very little ice on it, very little Arctic and Antarctic ice. The oceans were somewhat warmer, and the continents were a little bit shifted differently. But we've had substantial global cooling in the last 5 to 6 million years compared to previously. And you can see here the ice sheets on both the Arctic and the Antarctic. We believe that a lot of the whales especially the baleen, the filter feeding whales that Megalodon is feeding on, may have moved to colder parts of the globe where these sharks couldn't do as well. We also know that there's a decline in marine mammal diversity. As I showed, the peak of diversity occurred about 10 million years ago when Megalodon was in its prime. But we see a sharp decline in marine mammal diversity by 4 or 5 million years ago. So really, probably what happened was the buffet dried up. Megalodon got too big for its own good, and it was getting so large because there was an abundance of food items. And when those food items went away, here's a shark upwards of 50 to 60 feet long that would have to average over a ton of food a day, and that food probably just wasn't there anymore. We also know that there was some competition occurring. As I mentioned, we had the giant sperm whale, Leviathan melvillei. This was living primarily in the Pacific Ocean alongside Megalodon during the Miocene. And we also have the evolution of the first great white sharks. And they appear in the fossil record about 8 million years ago. And while they weren't probably directly competing with an adult megalodon, I firmly believe that these early great whites were probably directly competing with juvenile megalodons. And this was the basis for my PhD work. I traveled down to Peru, and I actually studied this specimen. This is the holotype of a fossil great white shark that I named called Carcharodon hubbelli. And as I mentioned earlier, in most shark fossils, we only find their teeth. But this specimen is extremely rare. It has preserved cartilage. So these are the articulated jaws of this specimen with over 220 teeth in position, along with 45 vertebrae from the backbone of this shark. And so I was able to tell a lot about what this early great white looked like from this specimen. And they were living in the Pacific at least 8 million years ago, alongside Megalodon, living in the same environments. We know that they grew to comparable sizes, if not larger than modern great whites. The largest fossil great white shark tooth I've seen to date, based on the tooth size, would compare to a great white of about 30 feet in length. And we know that these fossil great whites were eating whales as well. And how do we know that? I just happened to find a chunk of whale jaw in the deserts of Peru with a fossil great white shark tooth stuck in it. And I published this back in 2007. This little dimple here actually represents a broken great white shark tooth that was broken off in the lower jaw of a fossil baleen whale about 7 million years ago off the coast of Peru. So again, while the great whites probably weren't competing with an adult megalodon, they were probably living close to shore and interacting with the juveniles and may have been out competing them. So I'm going to wrap up by saying I've been talking about megalodons and great whites from other places, but New Jersey has these as well. And this is an area of my current research. We actually have the species Ototus obliquus. We find them in the fossil record in New Jersey. We find that transitional form, Ototus exuaticus, in New Jersey. We have Ototus auriculatus, this extinct species that lived during the Eocene. These teeth are not that uncommon in New Jersey. We have the shark Ototus chubutensis, the direct ancestor to Megalodon in New Jersey. And about 5 or 6 true Megalodon teeth have been found in our state. Most of them have been washed up on a beach or dredged up in the Delaware. So probably not too many, if any, coming from the geology, the stratigraphy on land, but their ancestors certainly are common in New Jersey. These teeth have been found in Monmouth County, Burlington County, Cumberland County, again, and as well as along shore in Cape May County and Atlantic County as well. So I always end by asking, well, why is studying these sharks important? I mean, they're fossil sharks, they're extinct. Why are they so important? Well, they give us a lot of information about the biology of sharks today. If we know how these sharks evolved and how they interacted in the past, they can tell us something about how they interact with one another today. And we can also learn something about how sharks react to climate change. We know that sharks are in danger today. Most or many species are declining in populations due to overfishing and climate change. So by learning about how sharks coped in the past, we can model what might happen in the future. And of course, education is important. We know that everybody loves Megalodon, and you all tuned in tonight to hear me talk about it. So learning more about these sharks is really important for everybody. So with that, I'm going to end my formal lecture part and tell you all to come and visit us out at the New Jersey State Museum in Trenton when we reopen. We're not quite reopened yet, but you can come and see many different fossils at the museum. And sometime, hopefully later this year, I'm working on a shark exhibit. And so hopefully you can come and see our new exhibit when we reopen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ehret. This was a great presentation. Can you now go and find the Google Doc for the questions?
Yes, I'm going to bring that up right now.
And you can stop sharing so they can see you now.
Okay. Okay, you can see me right now, right?
We still see your desktop.
Okay, let me end that. Let me see how I can do that.
At the top, if you just hover at the top of the screen, you're gonna see the bar. A bar appears that says stop sharing.
Okay, sorry, I can't seem to find that. I thought I stopped sharing.
Excellent.
Okay, are you good now?
We're good.
Sorry. Okay, yes, there are quite a few questions. So I'll start from the top and just work my way down. Why do sharks have so many different colors? I'm going to, and let me see, Anna asked that. I assume you asked, why do shark teeth have so many different colors? Yeah, there are different colors with shark teeth. You know, the Megalodon tooth I showed is almost black. This Hubble-eye tooth from Peru, almost a white cream color. That's because these teeth are fossilized, and they have taken up the minerals that are in the groundwater that have penetrated these teeth over millions and millions of years. And so they're taking up the colors of those minerals that are in the teeth. And so it'll depend on what minerals are present. But the teeth can range in all kinds of different colors. I've seen ivory white Megalodon teeth from Cuba, to green ones from Florida, to orange ones from Peru. So that they can look all different. The second question is, if sharks give birth to live offspring, why aren't they mammals? Well, that's an interesting question. That's because sharks actually produce eggs, but they keep those eggs internally in their body, and so there are multiple different ways that sharks can give birth, actually. But to keep it short, the reason is that they actually incubate them internally, and they can actually keep live young that are born inside. But these animals have completely different systems than mammals do. So live birth is a mammal characteristic, but it has evolved in different ways through convergent evolution in some groups. So these are not warm-blooded animals by any means. The next question is, how prevalent was Megalodon compared to other species such as whales, dolphins, and other sharks? How many of them were at one time? That's really hard to say. As we discussed in the trivia, sharks can have upwards of 300 teeth in their mouth at any one time. Sharks constantly shed teeth throughout their lifetime, and one shark can produce as many as 30,000 teeth in its lifetime. We learned that Greenland sharks may live a few hundred years. Other species are accurately aged upwards of 60 and 70 years. So there are a lot of shark teeth out there. And even though maybe the giant, really large Megalodon teeth might be fairly rare, Megalodon teeth really are not that uncommon to find in the fossil record. And getting a handle on population size would be extremely difficult because these teeth are constantly shedding as the animals live. But suffice it to say, they were common, and they were found throughout the oceans. Ancestors of Megalodon, like Ototus auriculatus, has been found in Antarctica. These teeth have been dredged from the deep ocean off of New Caledonia. They're found on pretty much all continents, so they were very common, cosmopolitan species. Where was the first Megalodon tooth found? Oh, that's a good question. I'm sure that they've probably been found thousands of years ago. We now know there's evidence, at least from Maryland, that some fossil shark teeth were used by Paleo Indians. There are teeth, a few from New Jersey as well. These are mainly fossil mako teeth that were probably fashioned and actually used as spear points. And some Megalodon teeth have been found in Paleo-Indian sites as well. So these teeth have been known for thousands of years, and they've been used in different ways. How many species of extinct sharks are there? The short answer is thousands, probably tens of thousands. We're constantly finding new ones as well. I've been fortunate enough to name a couple species, and actually in 2020, I was co-author on a paper naming a new genus of extinct angel shark that lived in New Jersey. So the more we do find teeth, the more we study them in collections, the more we're finding, new ones through the study of them in the fossil record. The next question by Carrie was, why did they eat their own kind? Well, we know that in the uterus, that some of these embryonic sharks, these ones that are doing internal cannibalism, are probably doing it to eliminate competition. So they are reducing the number of offspring so that they have a better chance at survival. And we see this in some other species, in things like alligators and crocodiles. We actually have cannibalism occurring for dominance. So in some species, a dominant male will kill other male species. Probably in the case of sharks, we know that some species eat one another, and it really probably just comes down to whether or not there's food available, and if another megalodon, the food that's available, that might be what they're going to eat. I don't think sharks are too picky sometimes when it comes to their food resources. Kai asked, would other sharks attack a megalodon? Certainly not an adult megalodon. We have no fossil evidence for this. but certainly, you know, a baby megalodon being born at 6 feet long. There are other species alive. There are, you know, fossil tiger sharks that were alive during this time. The great whites were evolving this time. And certainly, I'm sure there was some predation of baby or small juvenile megalodons by other species. You know, tiger sharks were around and got fairly large, bigger than modern tiger sharks as well. So I'm sure there were some sharks attacking baby megalodons. Spencer asked if jellyfish are related to sharks. Well, jellyfish are animals, and so are sharks. So in a sense, yes, they're all related very, 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 very far back in our evolutionary family tree. But sharks are animals with backbones, and jellyfish don't have backbones. And so we know that they've been separated from one another for over 500 million years. Christina asked which oceans did Megalodon live in, and I kind of answered this already, but Megalodon lived in all of the oceans. Like I said, we have now found Megalodon teeth or their ancestors on all 7 continents, and we know that they were certainly living all over the planet when they were alive. Amanda asked why sharks don't have necks. Wow, these are some interesting questions. I like them. Well, sharks don't have necks because they're swimming in the ocean. They have very sturdy bodies that are actually very streamlined. And sharks, especially things like Megalodon, great whites, and makos, specialize in swimming very fast. So having a streamlined torpedo-shaped body helps them swim faster and catch their prey. So actually having a neck would actually probably slow them down in the water column when they were chasing their food. Manny would like to know, did mosasaurs eat megalodons? And this is a good question. I like this one, Manny. Mosasaurs lived during the age of dinosaurs from about 100 million years ago up until their extinction 65 million years ago. And Megalodon lived from about 15 million years ago to 3.5 million years ago. So mosasaurs died out about 50 million years before any megalodons showed up in the world's oceans. So mosasaurs never saw Megalodon, and Megalodon never saw mosasaurs. The next question, Jessica wants to know, did Megalodon eat tuna? Yeah, they probably did. We know we find fossil tuna fish bones in the same deposits that we find Megalodon teeth. So I'm sure that they probably did eat tuna. I have yet to hear of a Megalodon tooth associated with tuna bones, but I'm sure that they probably were eating tuna because they were both living the same time and at the same place. Journey asked, did the ancestral species to Megalodon also have nurseries near the Panama Canal? The answer to that is we really just don't know. In order to find something like a nursery area, you need to find fossils from a given time period in a given area and enough of them to be able to tell something like that. Probably the most recent, and you might have heard about this was in the news fairly recently, one of the ancestors to Megalodon, Odadanted Sharks, a nursery area is being reported from the coast of South Carolina. So from about 30 to 35 million years ago, again, my friend and colleague, Robert Bosenecker, and his student is publishing a paper on auricula or Angustiden's nursery area from the coast of Carolina. So we don't know about any of the other species because we just don't have the fossils in the right geologic time periods right now for that in Panama. Anna would like to know how many types of sharks are there in the world? Yeah, well, there's well over 500 species of sharks. And if we talk about all the cartilaginous fish, including stingrays and the rabbit fish or rat fishes and the sawfishes, there's almost 1,000 different species out there today. But the modern groups are the sharks, the the rays and the skates, and then this group called the rabbit fishes or the chimeras. Those are the major groups that are still alive today. The next question is there anywhere we can go to look for our own megalodon teeth? Yeah, there are. Unfortunately, not here in New Jersey. Probably the closest area is down along the coast of Maryland. The Calvert Cliffs of Maryland are probably the closest area where megalodon teeth are found with any regularity. So you can look into that. The Calvert Marine Museum has a great display, and you just need to be aware of any state and county and federal laws about collecting fossils. But yeah, Florida is a great place for it. South Carolina is another place. A lot of people go scuba diving for megalodon teeth. So as I said, the prices of megalodon teeth can be quite astronomical, but they are not that uncommon. They're pretty common to be found. Someone asked me, why did I decide to study fossil sharks? Well, that's a good question. I actually grew up in Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey, in Monmouth County. And when I was a little boy, you were allowed to collect in Shark River Park, which is a county park. You're not allowed to collect there anymore, but I started collecting shark teeth when I was a little boy. And you can still collect up at Big Brook in northern Monmouth County. It's a different age, but you can still find shark teeth there. And so this is something I started doing when I was a little boy. And growing up at the beach, I always loved studying sharks and loved things about the ocean. Jessica asked, was the Mosasaurus bigger than a megalodon? Depends on the species. The largest mosasaur in the Atlantic was Mosasaurus maximus or Mosasaurus hoffmanni. And we have a full mount of one of those in our museum hanging from the ceiling. They grew to be about 40 to 45 feet long. So it was very close, probably about 5 to 10 feet shorter than Megalodon. So I would say Megalodon was bigger than the Mosasaurus. Someone asked, how did Megalodon and other sharks survive the end of the Cretaceous mass extinction? Well, again, Megalodon didn't show up for another 50 million years after that extinction, so it didn't have to worry about it. But how did other sharks survive? Well, we know that some did and some didn't. There's a lot of questions still surrounding why some organisms survived that mass extinction and why others didn't. Sharks probably came through pretty okay because the waters of the ocean don't change temperature that quickly or that easily. So while on land, if the sun was blocked out for a few months, it could change the temperatures on land very quickly. Seawater probably didn't change quite as fast. And some of the ecosystems we know, some organisms like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs and the ammonites do go extinct. Sharks seem to have made it through. Not the same species, but a lot of smaller species. We do tend to find smaller teeth right after the Cretaceous end extinction. Are there any sharks today that are under threat of extinction because of climate change? Climate change is a difficult one to quantify when we talk about threats for extinction for modern species. We know that a lot of sharks are threatened with extinction today, and a lot of that is due to overfishing, especially the practice of shark finning, where sharks are captured and their fins are cut off just for things like shark fin soup, and then the sharks are dumped over the side. I can't think of any sharks off the top of my head at the moment that are specifically threatened due to climate change. However, we know that environments are changing fairly rapidly in some regions. Ria's mom would like to know what kinds of sharks live off the coast of New Jersey. Have I ever seen any sharks, living sharks in the wild? Yeah, there are there are over 20 different species found off the coast of New Jersey, including great whites and mako sharks. We have common threshers that are found off the coast of New Jersey, the ones with the long tails that stun their prey. Occasionally, whale sharks will come by in the Gulf Stream current. And then we have lots of other things. We have the spiny dogfish that are found here in New Jersey, bull sharks, black tips. They're all fairly common along the New Jersey coast as well. So yeah, quite a few species are found off the coast of New Jersey. And have I ever seen them myself? Yeah, I'm not a scuba diver, but I went to school at the University of Florida, and I had a few closer than I would have liked encounters with some black tips swimming off the coast of Florida. I also spent a month in South Africa working with some shark researchers down there. And while they weren't alive, I got to study some recently caught great whites and some other species as well. Jessica would like to know what's my favorite shark species. Well, in the chat, I put megamouth sharks. And that's because that's a giant species of shark. They're filter feeders. They grow to 35 to 40 feet long. And they weren't described by scientists until 1976. So can you imagine a 35, 40-foot long shark that wasn't described by science until just about 50 years ago? I find that just extraordinary. And they're extremely rare. They're very deep water sharks. They're very strange looking as well. So I like weird things. Somebody asked, what kind of shark jaws are these behind me? These are the jaws of a great hammerhead. So these jaws came from Florida. I was at graduate school in Florida, and these were a set that were used for research. And these came from a great hammerhead that was about 9.5 or 10 feet long. So I used these both in research, but mainly in education these days. Why did I name the shark Carcharodon hubbleyi? Does that name have any meaning? Yes, it does. We use the name Carcharodon because it's in the same genus as the modern great white, and that was described back by Linnaeus in the 1750s. The name hubbleyi refers to a gentleman named Gordon Hubble, and he lives down in Gainesville, Florida, and that amazing specimen I showed you from Peru was a specimen that Gordon Hubble helped collect and was part of his private collection. And when I was in graduate school working on my PhD, Dr. Hubble donated that specimen to the Florida Museum of Natural History so that it could be properly studied. And so I honored that species, I named that species in honor of Dr. Hubble. And so sometimes if you donate a specimen that becomes very noteworthy in science, it's possible that scientists might name that, if it's a new species, name it after you. So I've named 3 different extinct species, 2 turtles and 1 shark, after people who donated fossils to the museums I was working at. The next question was, do I have a personal shark tooth collection? The answer is no. I have very few specimens that I show off and use for educational purposes, but everything that I collect goes to the museum that I work at. And so I do collect quite a bit here in New Jersey. And on average, I usually deposit, probably 2,000 to 3,000 teeth specimens in the New Jersey State Museum collections at this point. Because as a professional, I don't think that it's right to have a private collection, and it's really not ethically a good idea. So all of my specimens go right to my museum. And my final question for the evening is, what's the coolest place that you have been looking for sharks? Well, you know, as a paleontologist, I've gotten to travel all over the world for research and for science trips. And I would say probably working down in the deserts of southern Peru has been the most exciting. That area is very remote. It's near the Pacific Ocean. But out in the deserts there, and I didn't have time to show pictures, but you can find fully articulated whale skeletons. Some of them even have preserved baleen in their mouths. Other things that have been found from those areas, fossil giant penguins, 4-foot tall penguins. We found dolphins that had tusks like a walrus, and all kinds of sloths that swam in the ocean and ate seagrasses. So it was a really exciting time. And while I was down there the first time back in 2007, I actually was in an earthquake, an 8.0 earthquake that hit Peru. So it was exciting for a whole number of reasons.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Ehret. This was a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot about sharks, more than I knew. That was outstanding. And we want to thank you for your time, and to our audience for coming in and had great questions for the night. We are going to be live again. This was our late night, and we will have our April late night the first Wednesday of April. But before that, we actually have our next Ask a Geologist with Glacial Landscapes with Luke Sowett. That is going to be on Friday, March 12th. So we hope you enjoy the night. And I want to encourage everybody to hang in there. Thank you for participating of our virtual activities, and hopefully soon we will be able to reopen our museums and be able to go to the New Jersey State Museum and also to the Geology Museum. Can't wait for that to happen. Have a good night, everybody, and thank you for your attention. Bye.